Alright, well, I got my new little buddy. Let's see where we're gonna go. We're gonna do something fun. You know what? You guys can have fun too. Bearded dragons are awesome. Alright guys, so I decided to put my little buddy back inside his enclosure. As you can see, their enclosure is pretty simple. And we have everything that they need up to their maintenance, as you can see. We have their food supply, water supply. Here's their food. They eat fruits and vegetables and insects. We have the little cove here so they can hide.
Hello, today we're going to talk about the proper care of leopard geckos, and we'll talk about some other lizards as we talk about this leopard gecko. We have a leopard gecko here in the store that has a bit of a problem because of set up in the wrong habitat. This is proper, the size of this tank for this animal. They don't need to be high, just plenty of ground space. This is not a juvenile. This is an adult leopard gecko, and this gecko has a problem in that it had a sand impaction. So as you can see, this should be pretty narrow, but he has some bulges here. We didn't know if it was from sand impaction or egg bound. So what we did was we gave this little fella some mineral oil with some food, and so he was defecating all right, or she was defecating all right, going to the bathroom in her habitat. So we knew that that was working as she would eat. And always go to a veterinarian and seek veterinary care on your leopard gecko. The problem with that lizard was it had an inappropriate substrate. This is an appropriate substrate that packs down, and when the animal goes after a cricket, they don't get much of this, as in if it were sand, they would get a mouthful of sand with the cricket, and that's what led to the impaction. So it's important that you get the proper habitat, and most importantly is the substrate and the lighting. So Latoya is going to show you some different types of substrate. This is not a ploy to get you to buy more. It's just a way of duplicating the soil. Soil science is a whole different science, and there's no one particular substrate that I particularly like, so I like to use a mixture. So for you all that garden, you know that if your soil is not appropriate, you might mix some sand with it to make it more loamy, or you might mix some other things with it to improve the soil. So this is Eco Earth, and it's a popular substrate that a lot of people use, and out of the bag it feels kind of moist. You see how powdery it is, and once you wet it, the top is extremely damp, but you take your finger and poke a little hole in it and it'll be extremely dry. So this is a kind of a soil that as the lizard, especially a baby or juvenile lizard, goes after the cricket, it gets some soil that won't digest. So I like to start with the base of the Eco Earth, and then I like to put a little sand in with it. And what that does is, oh, that's got a hole in it. What that does is it makes it more clumpy, like what you want your garden soil to be. So also, we like to have some real soil with it, so then we'll mix something else called some jumbo mix, and each manufacturer calls their soils different mixes. So this is more like sphagnum and peat moss, so it also is added in here, and it gives it some moisture so that when you wet the soil, the sphagnum moss keeps it moist down through the soil. If you use plain sand and you mist your cage, that sand turns into asphalt. And I knew a person that had a sand boa, and they would mist that sand boa cage, so pretty soon the sand boa likes to burrow and that was so hard that when the sand boa burrowed, it damaged its nostrils and mouth, and finally it wouldn't eat and it died. So you want to have the proper soil. We're going to have some light bulbs here. For the proper lighting on most lizards, you need UVB and heat. There's some question as to whether or not a leopard gecko needs a whole lot of UVB because it's a nocturnal lizard. But some scientists and some veterinarians and some zookeepers claim that the guy does come out in the morning at night, so there is some sun. So there's some question as whether or not it needs UVB. So there are two examples of UVB. This is a lighter version and a heavier version. This would be for desert lizards like the bearded dragon, Uromastyx, a 10 UVB rating, where this is a 5 UVB rating, and that would be appropriate for the leopard gecko. That's the UVB only. Also needs a heat source. A 60-watt bulb is plenty for a habitat of this height. So maybe even a 45 watt. And the 60-watt bulb gives you the heat, and the UV light gives you the UV. So put them in the same place so that the lizard's not attracted to the brightness and maybe just getting the heat and not the UV. The lizard needs the heat in order to properly digest its food.